the very things that we need to do to improve our lives largely coincide with the very things we need to do in order to save ourselves. And these fantasies of, oh, you'll be made happier by having more and more and more products, or just go on more and more and more flights, and then you'll be a person who is fully fulfilled. That's just what the producers are teaching us. That's what the advertisers want us to believe. It doesn't actually make us happy.
On a personal note, I do remember about a decade ago when I first really became aware of these issues, and I remember having mild panic attacks at night. Just visions of like oil refineries and just very surreal visions, because it was just when you became aware of, as we speak right now, us ripping up the earth for all that it's worth, and it was a very overwhelming thing. And I think that is where despair can be quite destructive in activism, which is where we present with people what the problems are, and the reason people bat them away is, I don't know what to do about it. I always say when I present issues to people in my videos and things like that, it's in the context of what you can do about it. I mentioned it before in the sense of entertain, inform, inspire. So entertain is you grab people's attention because there's a lot of noise out there. You've got to cut through that. Inform, you want people to leave what you've said with more information than what they came to the conversational video with or piece of media with in the first place. But the last thing is probably the most important, which is inspire. It's about giving people autonomy to own it themselves and to go out into the world and realise they don't need to wait for someone else. Yeah. Although there are people that will say, I'm waiting for direction. But I think if you just present the problems, that's when people do act in despair and actually probably switch off.
Yeah, look, I'm kind of with you, but let me give a slightly different angle.
I'm looking at this.
So inspire, absolutely. But inspire, of course, also means breathe, means take a breath.
It does, yeah.
And I think that's crucial too. One of the things I do when I give my Extinction Rebellion talks is I say to people towards the end, so look, I've been showing you this desperate problem. I've been outlining to you this desperate and wonderful solution that we're offering. Maybe we'll talk more about that soon. But what I also want you to do before you rush off into that solution is pause for a minute, is take a breath, slow down and sit with it for a while. Because I actually think that it's really important that we sit with the horrible stuff for a while and that we don't rush too quickly for, what's the solution? Because if we don't sit with it, then we don't really fully feel with it. And, even despair can be good for a while. Despair can be good because it's impressing upon us the real depth of the tragedy and of the disaster and of the appallingness. We need to face reality. We need to be far more honest than we've been for a long time about how deep our plight is and how deep the solutions need to be, right? One of the dangers, if you don't allow yourself to sit in despair or even depression for a while, as I've done and many of the people who I know have done, is that you rush for solutions which are not deep enough solutions. They can be false solutions. And
quick
when
fixes.
You really, absolutely, when you really get how deep the problem is, when you really get how much needs to change, that's when you're in a good position to actually start to move determinedly towards the genuine solution. So I want to put in a little word for pausing and even a little word for despair. But look, you're right. What you don't want to do is just leave people stuck in depression and despair, especially isolated, without any sense of what the solutions are. That's one of the reasons why community is so important here. And one of the reasons why, if, for example, someone listening to this podcast is feeling a bit kind of overwhelmed or a bit like, oh my God, this is too much information and I don't know what to do with it and I don't know what the solutions are. Well, one of the first steps is talk about it with other people, right? Realize that you are not alone. And that's one of the great things that's been happening in the last few years. In my think tank, Greenhouse, we started to contemplate this stuff. And we all felt terribly alone. We all felt, God, I'm terrified about the future of the world. And I think it's just me who's this terrified. And then we shared our fears with each other. And then we felt less alone. Right? And then we could start to act on the problems. And again, it's the same in Extinction Rebellion. One of the important things that Extinction Rebellion has done, I think, is provided people with opportunities of all sorts for sharing their fears and sharing their hopes and sharing their intentions for action. So yeah, I would say to anyone who's feeling at all isolated or overwhelmed, don't stay isolated. Share your concerns, share your fears. You'll find that you probably actually do share them with a lot of people. And that's one of the crucial grounds on which you can build community and build solutions.
I agree, and I can attest to that because of what happened after that. Although I did have moments of isolation and despair, I did started speaking about it, and that's how you make connections.
Yeah.
And I agree with having the breathe element in there. There was a phrase I came up with a while ago, which was something along the lines of the truth sometimes hurts, but I like to regard it as growing pains. This idea that it is it's a process that can help you.